UFC Vegas 72. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Ricky Simón versus Song Yadong. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Also note, Fight Companion, 4 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Don't miss it. Let's get into the first fight on the card. It's Hailey Cowan versus Jamey-Lyn Horth. I gotta go with Canada. I'm going with Jamey-Lyn Horth. I feel as though in the grappling department, she's definitely going to have an advantage. Concern for her is going to be jumping up to 135 pounds. She's nasty as hell on the floor, though. She's got a quality stand-up game. Hailey Cowan was supposed to fight like 2 times over the past month. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. And now you're throwing her an undefeated girl, a Canadian savage. I'm riding Canada's side. Now, Hailey Cowan does have decent stand-up, decent grappling. I just feel like Jamey-Lyn Horth is one of those dark horse type fighters. She comes in 5-0, not super well known, but if you follow LFA, you know she's the flyweight champion there. So yeah, she's going to be fighting up a weight class. I look at Hailey Cowan's game. She's strong in the clinch against the cage, but I don't really see her being able to bully Jamey-Lyn Horth. Now, ultimately, betting side of this thing is even Steven lines, and it's for good reason because it's a coin flip fight. I was sitting on it going back and forth till ultimately I felt like Jamey-Lyn Horth might get her by just this much. Not really a fight that I would consider betting on, though, at all. No chance. I would say this. We're going over 2.5 rounds in this fight. Note too, Jamey-Lyn Horth's striking coach also is a glory kickboxer, which is a positive attribute to have. Hailey Cowan on the opposite side, I think, is dangerous to deal with. And I could see a split decision, man. I think it's going to be a hard fight. Not one of those high confidence picks. It's a true coin flip. You could flip a coin on this matchup and maybe you get it right. It's a 50-50 with even lines. It's a women's first fight of the night. I got to go with the more bullying pressure style of the Canadian as opposed to the southpaw, more, distance kickboxing / clinch game against the cage, Holly Holm-esque Hailey Cowan. So give me Jamey-Lyn Horth to get this thing done. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card. Brian Kelleher versus Journey Newson. I'm going to pick Brian Kelleher to win a hard-fought decision here. I think he's sneakier with his boxing and can kind of slick some hooks through the guard. I also feel like he's the better wrestler between the two. On the Journey Newson side, he's a really good kicker, but kind of ineffective kicks. He'll throw high kicks. He'll throw lead leg side kicks to the head. But it's not like they're getting the big KOs. They're not like Edson Barboza type of kicks. It's more kicks that are there and, impressive dexterity, but not super effective for the finish. He is pretty powerful, though, does have some decent boxing, but very inconsistent. I guess you could say the same thing about Brian Kelleher, but when you dig into the last 5 opponents, like Mario Batista lost for Kelleher, no shame. Nurmagomedov lost, no shame. You see a win over Kevin Kroom, up a weight class, a bigger guy. That's a good win. Domingo Pilarte, not really an impressive win. It's Domingo. But let's look at the last few for Journey Newson. He loses to Randy Costa by brutal knockout. Not a great look. Beats Fernie Garcia on a decision. Sergey Morozov lost. I think Brian Kelleher is going to outwork him over 3 rounds and win a hard-fought unanimous decision. Ultimately, the line's not great here. The betting side doesn't call my name. 2 guys that are pretty inconsistent. I don't really feel like are good guys to bet on, though I like Brian Kelleher's style in this matchup. I do really think he's going to win. Around minus 170 for Kelleher. Journey Newson in that plus 150 range. I'll ride with Kelleher on the scorecards, but like I said, no money would be thrown down on this fight for me. And if you're going dog-sided and you're like, yo, I think the Journey's going to get him, I feel like there's better underdogs to play, especially for the fact of how inconsistent Journey is. And then Brian Kelleher losing to, higher level guys in the division with clear grappling advantages over him. When Kelleher has a grappling edge, when he has that, I really think he's successful because he can let the hands fly and also then, if things go sideways, rely on some grappling too. He's good on the ground. I like Kelleher. Win. I'm going to call it by a decision. I'm saying he's getting it done over Journey Newson. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, ladies going after it again. Stephanie Egger versus Irina Alekseeva, the Russian Ronda. I don't know why you'd want to be known as Ronda Rousey in the game at this point. I know she's got tremendous judo, but the way Ronda Rousey ended her career was horrendous, and her stand-up was always extremely limited, and she was a one-dimensional fighter who was tremendous at what she did, but I don't know. We're going into fucking details about Ronda. I feel like Stephanie Egger beats her. Way more MMA experience. I mean, she has a loss recently, this being the Russian Ronda, to an 8-6 fighter over 3 years ago. Hasn't fought in a year and 5 months. So she made her pro debut, a little over 4 years ago or so. And she's out here just not being consistent as a fighter, fighting once in Bellator, then getting picked up from the UFC. She also fights a judoka and Stephanie Egger on the other side, who's just way more well-versed in MMA. Way more fights, way more UFC experience. I'm not impressed by Russian Ronda one bit from what I saw of her on the tape. I don't think she's all that good. I feel like she's got that clinch pressure style where she's going to try to hold you there. You can't do that with Stephanie Egger. I can see Egger throwing her. I can see Egger beating her up on the ground. I'm going to pick Stephanie Egger to win. I'll lean win for Stephanie Egger via decision. As far as the lines for this fight, they're gross. Minus 300 for Egger. Alekseeva plus 250. I mean, if somebody in the, viewing this video is on Alekseeva and they're like, yo, I see her as a very live dog. If you have some faith in her that I just don't personally see and you want to bet her, I wouldn't say you're crazy because it's a great line. But ultimately, Stephanie Egger is a way more well-versed mixed martial artist, and she should win by a clear unanimous decision. If not, maybe even a finish over the judoka. Both girls judokas, so don't doubt Stephanie Egger's grappling skill set at all. I got Egger winning. I'm going with the UFC experience. To me, a little bit of just one of those weird fights. Like seeing a fighter that just had one fight in Bellator and is 4-1 overall and now in the UFC. Weird situation. But we're riding with the side of Stephanie Egger getting her hand raised. I think she's doing it. Next fight on the card, we got Josh Quinlan and Trey Waters. I'm going to pick Josh Quinlan by knockout. Trey Waters lost to Bonfim on the Contender Series, which is forgivable. Bonfim's an absolute killer. Something I don't like is how low he holds his hands, and then you throw him Josh Quinlan, who literally has the God-given gift of dynamite power. He's got a huge left hand. He's got a big right hand, too. I mean, either one of his hands touches you, your legs will crumble. Then you got Trey Waters, who's how tall? 6'5" at 170 pounds. I'm telling you, 6'5", 170. The neck is too long. The chin is right up there high. I think Josh Quinlan is going to put the lights out. Trey Waters' hands are super low, and now you're taking this fight on short notice, literally like a few days notice. What is this? We're 6 days out at the time of the recording. He took the fight today. It was supposed to be Josh Quinlan taking on Ange Loosa. Waters is coming in off of a win just last weekend. Look at that. Jalen Fuller, knockout. It was impressive. He won an LFA. He gets the belt there. But now you jump in against Josh Quinlan on extremely short notice, who's way better than Fuller was. Way more dangerous. Thudding knockout power. I think Trey Waters is going to be unconscious in the first round or two here. I could see first round knockout, honestly. I could see in the second as well, but I think Waters is getting caught. I think early in the fight, he'll use his length to be competitive until a dynamite shot sneaks through for Josh Quinlan. I couldn't pick a 6'5" welterweight. Way too tall. I think he's much better off putting more muscle on the frame and moving up a weight class at that height. As far as the lines, they're actually not available at this moment, but I will say Josh Quinlan was a dog against Ange Loosa. I thought that he was going to sneak a knockout in over Ange Loosa. I was picking Quinlan as an underdog in that fight when I took the notes and all, and then we got this matchup switch. I believe Quinlan's going to be, let's say, 2-1 favorite. I'm going to say Quinlan gets a knockout win. So maybe the knockout prop is something to look at here. I definitely think there's a good chance this fight ends inside of the distance. And I'm going Josh Quinlan to sleep Trey Waters. Next fight on the card. This fight actually gets me excited. The past four, I haven't been excited for. This one, Cody Durden versus Charles Johnson, dope fight. I'm picking Cody Durden to win. I think Cody Durden is a savage underdog in this fight, and I don't think he should be the dog. I mean, you look, he has a draw with Chris Gutierrez. Yeah, he took a loss to Jimmy Flick a while ago. Mokaev ends up pulling a submission off against him. But ultimately, he's a beast of a wrestler. He's got dangerous kickboxing skills. He darts in and out of range really well. Charles Johnson on the opposite side, good kickboxer from distance. Nice low kicks, good straight punches, hands low style at times. I think that Cody Durden is going to be able to take him down, and I think Cody Durden is going to be finding strikes on the feet. I think that Durden is going to close the gap fairly well, especially the way Johnson stands. The hands a little bit low. I see Durden landing shots through the guard and then timing takedowns, cage pressure. I feel like Cody Durden has got this one. I think he's being slept on by the bookies, man. He's a good striker. More kickboxing-esh for Johnson, whereas you get like more MMA/boxing-esque style for Cody Durden. Definitely, I'd say more power in the hands of Durden too, and top control way better for Durden. Wrestling is better for Durden. Grappling, probably better for Durden. Johnson on the other side, good athlete. Like I said, good kicker, solid straight punches, good from distance. You look at that Zhumagulov fight, that's a red flag fight. Because Cody Durden, stylistically, is in that similar category to what a Zhumagulov can do in the wrestling, but way better. Cody Durden's got this fight. Underdog, high confidence. He's being slept on, guys. Bet that shit. Plus 160 underdog, Cody Durden. Minus 175, Charles Johnson. I think Durden wins a unanimous decision. I think he's landing takedowns. I think he's controlling this fight. I think he gets a clean W. I'm excited as hell for this fight. This is a fight getting me excited. There's some fights on the card that I'm not really all that amped for, but this one, hell yes. Cody Durden gets it done, win by a decision. He's got the overall game, and he's going to be stronger and better at the wrestling than a Charles Johnson. Clean unanimous decision. The bookies are wrong on this one. Get that plus money. Next fight on the card, we got Natan Levy versus Pete Rodriguez. I'm picking Natan Levy, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a yellow flag on the Natan Levy side because he's fighting Pete Rodriguez, who literally never has fought at lightweight, but I've always felt would be a pretty effective guy at lightweight. Knockout puncher in Pete Rodriguez, just naturally really good with his boxing chops, finds punches really well. Natan Levy, karate-esque striking style, does have the more technical game overall, and I do think has the advantage when it comes to the ground skills. I am picking Natan Levy to win by a decision here, but ultimately, I'm very curious to see the weigh-ins and how Pete Rodriguez looks on the scale. Problem with Pete Rodriguez, which really holds me back from picking him, is we really haven't seen him fight in the UFC. I mean, obviously, yeah, we saw him get fucked up by Jack Della Maddalena, but Jack Della Maddalena's fucking everybody up. And then we saw him fight Mike Jackson, who's not near UFC caliber, the worst fighter in UFC history. So Pete Rodriguez ultimately got killed by a guy he shouldn't have fought, and he killed a guy that shouldn't be near a UFC cage. We have really no clue on Pete. You can look at the Icon FC fights, and he's laying dudes out. Granted, they're not that good. Natan Levy has legitimate wins. Genaro Valdez, Mike Breeden, though it was competitive. Lost to Rafa Garcia, which ultimately Rafa Garcia is a very tough customer. Shanine Santano win, who was a good prospect at the time. He's been around for a while. 8 wins, 1 loss. But the 3 big UFC fights compared to the one awesome opportunity to fight Jack Della and then getting badly fucked up and fighting Mike Jackson. That does not count as a UFC fight, really. I mean, it does officially, but to me, that tells us nothing about Pete Rodriguez's whole game. We don't know. So yeah, I think he hits really hard. I like that he's a southpaw and he'll switch his stances up. I like that he has big hooks in the hands. I feel like he's got nice timing. But ultimately, Natan Levy seems like the better mixed martial artist. Looking at the betting side, Natan Levy is a crazy wide favorite. He is sitting at minus 275, Rodriguez plus 235. Let's see how Pete Rodriguez looks on the scale. And maybe after the weigh-ins, we'll reassess this one. Don't know for sure if there'd be a pick flip because ultimately I don't know enough about Pete Rodriguez's entire game at the highest level. We haven't seen it. Nobody knows. He doesn't even know. I'll tell you this much though. Knockout prop for Pete Rodriguez. If he makes weight, if he looks good on the scales, if the body language is nice at the face-offs, I think that could be a play here, Pete Rodriguez knockout. Ultimately, Natan Levy to win by a decision is going to be my official prediction call. I wish I could just pick Pete Rodriguez because it would be savage, big plus money. But I'm not going to lie to you guys just for the hype. Next fight on the card, it brings us to the featured prelims, and we got heavyweight eating contest champions. We got Martin Buday, Jake Collier. We got the 30% body fat and up club between these two savages. Granted, I'm shitting on them, but, you know, they're good fighters. They're not bad. They're not great fighters. They're pretty good. They're UFC caliber, heavyweights. The pick is going to be Martin Buday. As bad as he looked against Drezhki, I really think he can outstrike Jake Collier, and Collier is not going to be able to take him to the floor. Another thing I've been thinking about is Jake Collier was a shredded motherfucker at 185. Now he's a fat heavyweight. Martin Buday has always been the fat guy, always been the big, thick heavyweight. 11-1 record, 6'4", actually has pretty decent stand-up, though against Drezhki it didn't look great. I think Drezhki's, you know, better than we originally anticipated, at least better than I originally anticipated. I think most of us probably thought Drezhki was, you know, kind of garbo, but he ended up being pretty decent. Buday, I think, lands strikes on Jake Collier's face. Good straight punches, heavy low kicks. Collier won't be able to take him down. And in the stand-up, Jake Collier, he does like those ducking hooks. I think that gets him caught by Buday. I think Buday wins the clinch battle. I got to go with the guy who's just naturally fatter and bigger than the guy who's, you know, chosen to gain significant amount of body weight. When ultimately, I think Jake Collier would be a way better fighter at 205, even 185. Yeah, he's fighting against these slower heavyweights, and he's gotten some wins, but it hasn't been good lately. I mean, he beat John Vellante. That doesn't mean shit. Philippe fight, he could have won that one. Chase Sherman, good W to have. Andrei Arlovsky, competitive fight, but it's old man Arlovsky. Chris Barnett fucked him up. He's shown the fight IQ is not there. Martin Buday beat Chris Barnett also. Yes, the Drezhki fight was a controversial decision win for Buday. He definitely lost. I think this matchup here, Buday wins. Not telling you guys to go bet on it. Looking at the lines for it, minus 100 for Buday, minus 100 on the opposite side, Collier. It's a pick'em's fight, and for good reason. I think this fight's competitive. Buday edges it out by a little bit. I don't know about finish, man. I know he's got some finishes, but once it got to the higher level, we're going long. Jake Collier is not an easy guy to finish off, unless he gets stupid out there. I'll say Buday gets it done by a decision. I could see hard-fought, sloppy heavyweight fight with a clinch fest at times, laying on one another. It's the small cage, too. Get us the fuck out of the Apex, UFC. I'm done with the Apex. I don't mind watching. I love it on Contender Series. I love it on The Ultimate Fighter. But can we please eliminate the fucking Apex from the lineup and do events at, that little Vegas venue they went to that one day that was like similar to the Pearl at the Palms. Let's do that type of shit. Even if it's not a great card, at least you let some fans in, let there be some energy. The Apex gets old, man. I mean, I still love the fights. Obviously, we just watched it last week too, or yesterday for me. But come on, let's get us to some big shows now. I'm sick of this Apex shit. Martin Buday by decision. Next fight on the card, it's going to bring us to the main card opener, and it's Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Marcos Rogério de Lima. Guys, I'll be honest, I have been flip-flopping left and right on this pick, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm very concerned about Waldo Cortes-Acosta on his back. We have not seen him against a top-caliber fighter on his back getting controlled. We haven't seen him get up from those positions. Marcos Rogério de Lima has good jiu-jitsu. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, way more of a volume puncher, definitely can outstrike Rogério de Lima, but can he get up from the ground if he goes there? Now, de Lima doesn't have great wrestling. Usually, if he's getting on top, granted, he lands like an average of one takedown a fight, but if he's getting on top, it's a punch that will put you down and he'll be following up. He's not going to be able to touch up Waldo Cortes-Acosta on the feet. Problem is I think he could lay and pray on the clinch against him, on the cage rather, in the clinch. I'm still going to ride with Salsa Boy. I'm going to pick Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Not my most confident underdog pick. I'm a 51-49 on this one. I think it's a real competitive fight, which question mark lies on what happens when Waldo's on his back. So if he's on his back getting beaten up, we're like, okay, he doesn't have that game if he can't get up. But if he can keep it standing, he is clearly the faster and better striker than de Lima. De Lima has that plodding power Muay Thai style, whereas Waldo has a slick kickboxing game, very boxing-centric. I think Waldo can land good punches through the guard. My concern is going to be, does he look like Junior Tafa off of his back? We shall find out. I'm going to pick Waldo to win by a decision. But yeah, the confidence is not on the highest of sides. It's plus 135 money for Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Granted, I think there's better underdogs here. Still, dog pick. Marcos Rogério de Lima, minus 155. I'm going to ride with Where's Waldo to pull this one out. I think he'll get a hard-fought decision over de Lima. Maybe even a split. Let's ride with him. Next fight on the main card. Julian Erosa versus Fernando Padilla. Padilla's got braces in his picture here. I'm picking Fernando Padilla. Julian Erosa, in my opinion, struggles with this frame. Look at recent losses for Erosa for a moment. Sung Woo Choi. What is Sung Woo Choi? A tall, lanky kickboxer. Alex Caceres, tall, lanky kickboxing skills. Look at the wins. Hakeem Dawodu, short, stocky Muay Thai. Steven Peterson. It's Steven Peterson. Charles Jourdain, shorter, Muay Thai style, kickboxing, athletic and fast, but not long. His opponent, Fernando Padilla, 76-inch reach to Julian Erosa, 74.5. I think that Padilla brings more volume with the boxing. I think he's going to sneak uppercuts through the guard. I think he finds straight shots. He's got good volume with his punches. Now, not a super active fighter. Like if you look at a year and 9 months off, 2 years before that. So we don't have crazy consistency from Padilla. But the reason I'm not overly concerned about that factor is simple. He is a 26-year-old. Also note, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu skill set. The ground game is good. Uses that lead hand fairly well as a rangefinder with the jab. Julian Erosa on the opposite side, he's a dangerous but also in danger striker because his game is based upon keeping the hands low. And there's counters that sneak through the guard. Let's not forget, guys, the GOAT, Artem Lobov, knocked out Julian Erosa on The Ultimate Fighter. I think he's getting KO'd in this fight too. He looks great one fight, super mid the next fight. I like Fernando Padilla as a guy to beat him. I'm going Padilla by knockout. I think he's going to find home to big strikes, follow it up, multiple shots land, and he puts him out. I don't question the ground skills of Padilla at this point. I don't think Julian Erosa has awesome takedowns where he's going to be able to take Padilla down and just beat him up. So to me, Fernando Padilla all day. Knockout win. He's an underdog, plus 155. I think he's a live dog. He's a real prospect in this sport. Erosa, around minus 170 as the favorite. Give me the dog money. Give me Fernando Padilla. Watch for his uppercut. I think he's putting Julian Erosa's lights out. 26-33. Mexican fighters, too. Good chins. I don't see Julian Erosa cracking him, putting him out. Padilla's got this fight, guys. Padilla's going to beat him. If you're Erosa, you're going to try to grapple with him, but he's going to be surprised at the grappling resistance on Padilla's side. I like Fernando Padilla a lot, guys. Knockout. Next fight on the card brings us to the featured prelim. It's Cody Brundage versus Rodolfo Vieira. Featured prelim. Featured bout of the night. I got to pick Rodolfo Vieira to win because Cody Brundage really doesn't show me anything other than a decent overhand that could maybe land because Rodolfo Vieira literally has his head just standing there. He doesn't have head movement. But then he goes distance with Chris Curtis, who has way more power than Cody Brundage. And he was forced to strike with Curtis. And you know what? Vieira's jab is actually pretty good. And his jiu-jitsu is amazing. Brundage is the better wrestler. If he shoots, which at points I think he's going to end up shooting, I feel like he's fucked. He's going to get his back taken. I think Rodolfo Vieira is going to end up strangling Cody Brundage because as this fight wears on, Cody is going to go to his roots, which are the takedowns, regardless of the vastly different skill set in the pure grappling department. He's going to shoot for it because of what comes natural to him. The striking, I actually think that Vieira is going to be touching him up with punches a bit. I think that Brundage could land some shots. Vieira gets knocked out if he's sitting there with the chin up, head just like this, and then Brundage ducks and lands one of those overhands, kind of like what he did with Trey Shangor. But Vieira's shown me he can take a big punch. So I'm going to go Rodolfo Vieira for submission. I think he's going to get the rear naked choke. On the ground, he's got way better jiu-jitsu. Big favorite, though, minus 275. Brundage plus 235. Rodolfo Vieira has never been a guy that I'm really like, oh, go bet on him, guys. Go through it. I don't know. Like, I don't love that. Yeah, he's a dangerous BJJ champion, and he's improved his game overall. but he's not a great MMA fighter. And Cody Brundage, I mean, he's got a loss to Nick Maximov a few fights ago. And he was looking like shit against Dolce Ligambula before getting the guillotine. He beat Trey Shongor. Michael Oleksiejczuk absolutely killed him with ground and pound. The chin is honestly at this point maybe questionable for Brundage too. You imagine if Vieira flatlines him? If Vieira hurts him with a punch, I can see Brundage shooting, and that's when the submission happens. So give me Rodolfo Vieira win by submission. I think there's a really good chance he wins this fight, but ultimately it's a terrible betting line. Co-main event of the evening, Caio Borralho versus Michael Oleksiejczuk. I am picking Caio Borralho to win this fight. The ground skills are undeniable. I'm actually a guy that believes a lot in Oleksiejczuk's hands. I just think stylistically, this might be the worst matchup for him in the middleweight division, like outside of ranked opposition. Borralho has tremendous takedowns, really good jiu-jitsu and top control, great positional control overall, has submissions in the arsenal, though not super effective in the UFC of getting the subs. You look at UFC wins, granted, he beat Omar Gadziev, who's a great grappler by a technical decision. Arman Petrosian beats him by a decision. Well-rounded striker. Beats Mokman Muradov, who's a dangerous guy on the floor. The OV at the end of his name. You know he's got some skills. You know what I'm saying? He's 25-7. Oleksiejczuk is a powerful striker. He's got good hands. He's a southpaw. He rips big hooks. He definitely has knockout power. He fucked up Brundage with ground and pound last fight. He's got brutal ground and pound. And if you don't mind your P's and Q's against him, especially if Borralho's getting confident off of his back, somehow there's a position where he's there. If Oleksiejczuk postures up and starts throwing, your lights can get shut off. I just think Borralho's way too fast with his darting in and out of range style. His takedowns are going to be on point. His cage control. Borralho knows exactly what to avoid here. And it's really just one thing. Punches. Big punches. Power shots. So don't get into a striking battle with Oleksiejczuk. I think Borralho uses the karate-esque kickboxing from distance. I think he waits for Oleksiejczuk to attempt to open up. I think Borralho lands takedowns. And I think Borralho will control from top position. Ultimately, he hasn't gotten a submission yet in the UFC, but I don't think that it's impossible for him to get a sub here. I would say of the past, two of the last three opponents for Caio Borralho, the grappling skill sets are definitely better than Oleksiejczuk's. Yes, Oleksiejczuk poses way more of a striking threat. I'm going to go Borralho by submission. Borralho subs him. I don't like that I'm picking the minus 300, and I'm a fan of Oleksiejczuk, but Borralho's that young prospect on the come up. Could he get caught with something big? If he gets careless and wants to sit and strike, sure. But I got to go Borralho to win. Minus 300. Fucking terrible tag. Oleksiejczuk plus 250. Give me Borralho to win. I'll say he'll get it done by a sub, but ultimately it wouldn't blow my mind if it goes distance and he wins by a decision, because it's not like Borralho's getting finishes early in his UFC run. So let's go Borralho to win. I'm going with, weirdly enough, the prospect, but the veteran is younger than him with more fights. I think Borralho's coming into his own, though, with his ground skills. He's nasty on the mat. I got to ride with that. Main event of the evening, Song Yadong versus Ricky Simón. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. What an interesting matchup here. You got fucking dynamite punching power on Song's side. You got Ricky Simón, who definitely can box too, but A1 wrestling chops and cardio. In a 3-round fight, this was supposed to be the co-main event last week. I picked Ricky Simón. It's now a 5-round fight, and I asked myself, can Ricky Simón dig deep later in the fight? I believe he's prepared for 5 rounds. I think this is an extremely hard matchup over the course of the 5 because Song Yadong will carry power throughout the entire fight. I'm going to pick Ricky Simón 49-46, 48-47, unanimous decision. I think that he could win at least 3 rounds here. He has to, but I think 3 is very likely. And I think also could be very possibly wins 4 rounds. I feel like he lands takedowns on Song. I feel like he'll work well against the cage with Song. I think that Song has the pure boxing advantage. So if they're sitting in the striking department, Ricky Simón can get caught. But I think Simón knows this. I believe they're going to have a very intelligent game plan of not a crazy pace early, but to look for moments of control time. Little bit of damage against the cage with strikes. Find the takedown. Hold the position from top. Ricky Simón, I see over the 5 rounds, doing a little bit more, getting it done, winning the fight. I can't doubt the Ricky Simón chin either. You go back and you watch the Uriah Faber loss. Oh, he got knocked out. that was a bullshit stoppage. Mike Beltran did terrible because if you look, Simón's actually trying to spin and get up, and you can see that the ref is jumping in, like preventing him from moving. He was going to get out of that. He would have recovered. The hype was just, Uriah Faber in front of the people getting a huge upset knockout win. Ricky Simón was beating Uriah Faber up until he got caught with one big shot, and then the ref jumps in way too early and called it. Terrible stoppage in that fight. Just to talk about something from years ago that I want to bring to the forefront. That was a bad stoppage. Ricky Simón has a chin on him. I think he could take Song's best punch and recover and then scramble, shoot for a takedown. And I think Song's going to end up on his back. I think Simón can do work from top position. I don't think he's going to unload the craziest ground and pound we've ever seen. I don't think that he's going to even slice up Song like a Corey Sandhagen did. But ultimately, I think Simón can have an effective game plan, which is the path of control time, some damage, and unanimous decision win. So I'll go Ricky Simón to win the main event. Plus 110 for Song, minus 130 Ricky Simón. Ultimately, guys, this card is lackluster. It's not a bad card. There's still good fights on it. But really, this is a co-main event being placed in a main event spot. I really wish we had Arman Tsarukyan still on the card, but we lost the Moicano fight. That would have been a dope matchup. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. As always, make sure to smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Definitely let me know what your picks are in the comments. I'm curious. If you got nothing to say in those comments, but you enjoy the content, drop a W in the chat for your boy to boost that algorithm. Content dropping every day of the week, so keep it locked in on the channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.